Welcome to Dance with Disease. My name is Ren. In 2016, my index finger started wiggling, which is great if you're training a dog, but I don't have a canine companion. And then the word Parkinsons came into my life. I knew from the beginning that this was not the downward spiral of doom as guaranteed by the brochures, but a kick in the ass to look at my life and change. This podcast is dedicated to sharing my magical journey of healing through trying every alternative therapy imaginable. Thanks for joining me. Let's dance.
Good morning, friends. It is officially 5:42, and all is well. All is great. I slept very, very well. Watched a movie about the last days of Dan Rather, politics, but it was all right. Went to bed right after, fell asleep quickly. Had vivid dreams. Don't remember them, but I was dreaming vividly. And yeah, really, really good. Slept really well. Sleep is so important, and it's interesting how I'm finding it very interesting how I feel like I'm really being looked after right now. I have an interview with the bike shop today, which I'm very excited about. And we went to the grocery store yesterday, and there was a young man, a tall young man, a big guy. And he brought his bike into the grocery store, and I kept on looking at him, looking at his bike, and I'm like, his bike is too small, or his seat's definitely too low. I just kept on looking back and forth because, you know, it's one of my expertises. Not the greatest expertise I have. When we saw him outside, I'm like, is that bike big enough for you? And then just immediately started asking me questions. And I was like, and it was great to connect with that, first and foremost, a young man, and help him. Yeah. And then just to connect with that base of knowledge I have. And then, yeah, it was great. So I said I would help him and give him my number. And then from there, I talking to a friend that night, and he and his buddy were talking about electric bikes, getting electric bikes, and I'm like, I have an interview at an electric bike shop tomorrow. I didn't feel confident I'm going to get the job. Interesting. To me, I see that as affirmation, and so I share with him my knowledge about this new venture. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And just interesting. Call them cookie crumbs or breadcrumbs. The universe is just putting out breadcrumbs. Yeah, then I've got an interview with a physioacoustic company in Finland this week. Well, they reached out. I feel really looked after right now. Really looked after. Hopeful. Yeah. Hopeful. Hopeful it's good. Vibrating's good too. Life can change in a heartbeat. Anything is possible. And yeah, just be open to the possibility. Not hold on to the past. Not grasp onto the future. And although I'm no expert at it, I'm certainly better at it than before. Just being in the energy of enjoying the journey and saying yes and acting on the breadcrumbs that are provided to us. Breadcrumbs meaning. So I got a flat tire a couple weeks ago, and I had the idea in my mind to apply to bike shops and engage with my expertise of cycling. And I'm not an expert of cycling, but I have a high level of expertise because I've cycled far more than the average person, and a far wider variety of cycling experiences aside from mountain than most cyclists, because I'm just open to experimentation. I like experimentation. I feel like the box that we find ourselves in at times is it's a great place of security when you need that. But I've always lived outside the box. And so I'm open to trying new, or I don't want to say fringe, experimental, yeah. So tandeming, recumbent. When I see something that makes sense, I'll give it a go. Electric. So for me, the moment of truth when I was cycling, when we were car free, and I want to say great cardiovascular health. My resting heart rate was in the 30s, high 30s. And I was at a stop sign with a woman that I would classify, I remember as being overweight with an electric bike. And I was snobby with it at the time, and I asked her what was the appeal of it, and she said, if it wasn't for it, I wouldn't cycle. And she talked about going to the North Shore and getting all around the entire city because she's got an electric bike, and that really appealed to me. That made a lot of sense, because if you're on the bike, that's what matters most. And that extra boost. And then at that point I started experimenting. And this is after a buddy of mine tried to, being hard-headed, makes for great comedy, but doesn't make for great living, an easy living experience for the person that's hard-headed or the people around. And I've had some hard heads. I'm getting better at saying yes to life's experience. But so that woman's honesty with me was really profound, because it made me think. Anyway, shortly after that, I started experimenting with electrifying bicycles, and it made a huge difference, because at that point I was performing at birthday parties and all over the Lower Mainland of Vancouver. That means I could carry a sound system, so I could be heard at gigs. So I started to, when I electrified, I could do I think one summer I was doing 100 to 120 kilometers, between 90 and 120 kilometers a day, doing the Fraser Valley Library tour. And I was doing 2 and 3 shows a day in the sun. It was awesome, and I wasn't killing myself getting there. And I had a sound system. I created my own tripods that were light and efficient. And yeah, I could be heard, and I brought a higher level of production and just quality of performance for the audiences. And I was, yeah, it was awesome. And you know, I've been challenged physically with these physical symptoms. And I haven't been cycling as much because Nanaimo, where I live, is hilly. And the bike, we had an electric bike that we got cheaply, but it wasn't a brand name, and it just, because I guess one of the bike shops in Vancouver bought it off a container load, so there was no support. It was cheaply made. It was problematic. It was a pain in the butt. When it worked, it was great, but the Pedigo system is far superior as a system to support. It's far more R&D. It's, you know, and you pay for it, but to know that you're going to get to where you're going, you're not going to have to pedal. Oh, I did. Yeah. So I had a gig once in Mission. And Mission is about, I think it was about 60 kilometers from where I was living. And so I had loaded up all my gear. It was like January, February. It was wet and it was gross. And I ripped out there, but I ripped out there too fast. Wiped out my battery. For the last 5 kilometers, I had like 90 pounds of gear. The bike was 90 pounds and maybe 60 pounds of gear. And for the last 5 kilometers, I had to pedal myself because I burned my battery. Oh. Electric bikes are great when there's electricity, but if you are too heavy-handed on the throttle, you're gonna earn that day. So I'm now far more. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the city of Nanaimo opening up to me by bike, because we can drive around by car, but it's not as fun. It's not. It's so much more limiting by car. And to get the cadence, and when you're on an electric bike, you can spin. Spinning is a term where the cadence is like between 80 and 100 RPM. Cadence meaning the rotation of your pedals. And the higher the cadence, the easier on your body. Well, your cadence is between 80, I think for the average person, maybe 70 to 90 RPM. Mine was back in the day. Well, mine will be again in the 100 range because it's more efficient. And just get the blood pumping. And when you get the blood pumping, when you're using med, when you're using, it's better for your mental health, better for your circulation. You'll recover faster. You don't put this much weight on you, much strain on your joints. And electricity allows you to not have to grind yourself into the dirt every time you ride. Because I would ride today, but my appointment, but it's wet. I don't have fenders, and I don't feel like grinding. I'm 51. Speaking to this young 30-year-old yesterday, I was like, "Oh, dude, just back off the effort just a little bit, and you'll get way more longevity." And and maybe that's the advice I'm giving to myself as well. Back off the effort, and you get way more longevity. Back off the effort, you'll get way more longevity. Ren, back off the effort, you get way more longevity. Oh, that's an important lesson, isn't it? Back off off the effort, you get way more longevity.
Thank you for listening to the Dance with Disease podcast. My name is Ren. It's been a pleasure to have you here today. For more podcasts and the films, Dance with Disease, log on to YouTube, Ren the Artist. See you next time.